welcome to Media Types with me, Robert Shepherd. My guest in this episode is Robin Stevens, an entrepreneur who has overcome dyslexia to become a successful businessman, author and AI musician. He's here to share the secrets of his success. Hello Robin, how's life?
Very good, thank you, Robert. How are you?
I'm very good. Robert, that's a bit formal, seeing as I've been known as Bobby by you for many years.
Well, I've decided that I'm gonna try and use all four names that you go by during this interview today. We'll see how we get on.
I hope we can publish them all. You gave up Surrey life a couple of years ago for Scotland, which is where you're dialing in from now, is it?
I am, yeah. I'm in the deepest, darkest Highlands where I believe the rest of the country is cooking in sort of 40 degrees heat, and it's 18 here. So despite my very loud shirt that you can see, but maybe the listeners can't see, it's quite cool here still.
And are you enjoying Scottish life compared to living in the south of England? Is it very different?
It's hugely different, and it might be more about the fact that I live in a tiny village. And the whole kind of idea of community, which maybe we'll talk about community later, but the whole kind of community is it's a real community vibe, and people do things for each other, and it's lovely. It's very beautiful as well.
Well, let's stick with community, because before you moved up there, you were a councillor for the Liberal Democrats down in, was it Elmbridge?
I was in Elmbridge, yeah, which is gone, I believe. It's become
it's like
South Surrey or something, East Surrey,
something like that. But why the hell would you want to get into politics?
That's a great question, Bob. I spent a lot of time thinking about this idea that if you become successful, then you should try and give something back. And perhaps politics is sometimes seen as a bit of a dirty thing, and you're doing it for yourself. And but really, what attracted me was this idea that there were lots of people who needed some help and probably weren't engaged with the political process, and perhaps I could do something about that. So a lot of what I did whilst I was doing kind of the classic kind of local government stuff, but a lot of what I spent my time doing was really thinking about how I could help people. So whether it's someone with a housing issue, or on the social estate, getting new play equipment put in, some of those sorts of things were what I was really interested in doing.
Did you ever get any abuse? What's happening with the potholes on my road?
Do you know what? Yes, I did, but I quite enjoyed it because it gives you a chance to engage with people, and you can talk to them about the various problems that exist. I mean, one of the classic ones is just there is no money, and the reality is at the local politics level, I'm not sure it hugely matters which political party is running it, because there isn't any money for doing these things. And a lot of what you're doing is making a decision about, do I fix that pothole, or do I, certainly at the larger county level, do I fix the send for the schools, or do I? It's what do I slice to try and solve the problems?
Yeah. Could you come back and fix the potholes, though? Because they are an absolute nightmare. I think I've gone through 4 tyres this year, and they never give you any compensation. If you write to the council, they'll just say, well, that road was fixed back in blah, blah, blah. It's now due another one. Sorry, you're not getting anything.
Well, you need to move to Scotland, where the roads are beautiful. But then that maybe is an argument about the Barnett formula and how much money goes to Scotland versus the rest of the country.
Yeah. We are getting very political, aren't we?
Well, I wasn't planning on this, but you've asked me the question, so here we are.
You mentioned earlier about giving back, and you said when you become successful. So how do you define success? How do you measure it?
There is no measurement, is there? It's about how you feel, and actually, I think sometimes the people who are most generous, particularly with their time, are maybe the people that have the least. So it's not always about being successful, but I do think that if you are being successful in life, you've made some money, you run a business, it's been good, then there is an obligation that you go out and try and help people. No one has achieved anything in life without having other people in their past that have helped them, whether it's someone's mentored you, whether it's a school teacher. There are so many places in your life where someone's done something for you, and I think there's an obligation that you go and help other people.
Yeah, I mean, you have achieved a hell of a lot in your life. You've been a Lib Dem councillor, you run your own business. We're going to get into what you're doing currently later in the podcast, but you've also made an AI music album, which I think you're the only person I've ever known to do that. I mean, how? How did you do it?
Well, so that was probably a joke conversation that went too far. Um, and I was talking to someone, it was over a couple of beers, and I was talking to someone, and I was talking about this idea that artificial intelligence will allow you to do anything that you want to do. And we got to talk about kind of what what people wanted to do, and I said, flippantly, I'm quite musical, but I'm not a musician. You're a fabulous guitar player, Bob, but I'm not.
We would not go that far, but thank you.
I mean, there we are. But I like music. I'm into music, and the conversation went around. Well, go on then, prove it. If you think you can make music with AI, and I said to my friends that I was talking to, well, what are the terms here? And they said you need to get on radio. I was like, right, okay, I'm gonna go and get on radio. So at the time, I was kind of into country music. I was listening to a lot of country stuff, which is a bit of a funny thing to listen to if you're in Scotland. But anyway, I use like various applications, and I've got Claude plugged into a couple of different tools to work agentically, and kind of I wrote the lyrics that I wanted, and then you sort of describe what you wanted to do from for a bridge and the chorus and what have you, and you get the music. So I went through that process, and then the bit that was maybe slightly more complicated. Writing the music was easy. The bit was then complicated was like, how do you then get it onto to the music platforms? How do you then get it to the radio stations?
Yeah.
And a lot of it is just it's the same thing for anything in life, right? If you want to get played on a radio station, you have to go and tell them it exists, right? So you go and find out who the producer is, and then you email them and send the links to what you've done. And lo and behold, I was suddenly on country British Country FM, I think it was. I was being played for a while, which it was really good fun.
And you're really upfront about the fact it's not you singing, and it's all done through AI. Wow,
yeah.
Amazing, and that's all done through Claude.
There's a whole body of stuff joined together, yeah. But Claude was one of the tools I used.
So, how long would it take to compose a song from beginning to end?
Probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So it's not a huge amount of time. Actually, a lot of it was throwing stuff away rather than create stuff. You create something and then go, I hate that, and then start again. I probably did, to get one album, I probably did 600 songs.
Wow. So in years to come, you could do a director's cut version, couldn't you? Go, well, this is the stuff that never made the original cut. I'm going to produce another album.
At my funeral, perhaps I'll play the songs that never made the cut.
And how are record sales, Robin?
Oh, I think I've probably made enough to go out for dinner. but that's okay. It was never done for any other reason than just to prove that you could do things with artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
That once upon a time one couldn't do. I just want to prove that you could.
Indeed. And you've also written a book.
I have, yep.
Tell us about that.
So, one of the things that and again, actually, I've used artificial intelligence in a slightly different way, because I am mildly dyslexic. So whilst I can write and I'm a good writer, I have to reread and re-go over everything over and over again. So I use AI fairly heavily to check what I'd written and copy edit it. So it's like having a Jimmy Cricket editor sitting on my shoulder.
Yeah.
But really, what I was thinking about for that book was the idea that we've changed the paradigm of society. 20 years ago, starting a business was hard, right? You had to find money, and selling stuff and creating technology. All those things are really difficult. And now I think a lot of those barriers have disappeared, and anyone who wants to start a business can. You don't need to go and raise millions of quid. You don't need a huge team. There are sets of tools that make it possible. So what I wanted to really just kind of articulate, because I talk about it all the time, probably to all my friends. A disaster! There's a fire alarm going off. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. You don't. It's not like a school fire alarm, is it? But you have to leave the building and go downstairs.
No, it's done. I think they just test the alarms. I don't know when. It's not very regular they do it. All right, so
we're back.
And we're back. Streets back again.
Yes.
What was the question?
You were talking about your book.
Yes.
So what's it called? It's called The Bootstrap Entrepreneur, I believe.
Bootstrap Entrepreneur, yeah. And it's the idea that there are no barriers for anyone starting a business. You can do anything you want to do using the power of having a computer or even a phone and the internet. Because the reality is there are so many barriers. Once upon a time, there were so many barriers to doing anything in business, right? You wouldn't have access to capital, or I wouldn't be able to learn whatever I need to learn to be able to do something, or I wouldn't be able to find the contacts I need to do. I mean, all those things have gone. You can find anything you need to do to be able to do something, and then create it. And it was this idea that everything we're taught all through our lives is something stopping you doing it. That's not true anymore, and I just wanted to articulate that into a book.
And you mentioned dyslexia a moment ago.
Yeah.
And you said it's mild. Has it impacted you in any way? And when did you realise you had it? Because a lot of people don't realise, and sometimes I wonder if I can't remember the name of the numerical one, but sometimes look at the numbers.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is, I think for mild cases of all the things that have labels, ADHD or dyslexia or autism, I mean, there's a whole set of labels of things. And I think I understand that there are extreme cases of those things which are hugely impactful for people. But for a lot of people that have those labels, actually, I think it just means your brain works differently.
Yeah.
So I like yourself, I'm terrible at numbers. I still don't know my times tables. I've never been able to learn them. I can never remember the PIN number for my ATM. Just numbers will not stick in my head.
Oh, so it's not just written stuff. It's mental arithmetic as well.
It's mental arithmetic as well. Now I can do all those things, and I've always had cheat codes to get around it, right? So I'm a master at Excel, right? So if I ever had to do something that was mathematical, I build tables and all sorts of things to make sure everything I was doing was 100% correct. But I think again, it's a nice thing about artificial intelligence is I now have my Jiminy Cricket sitting on my shoulder that can just check things as I go. So you check my spelling, check my maths. But I actually think of it as a superpower. The fact that I think differently probably means that I'm certainly probably more creative than other people. I attack problems in a weird way, but that's a good thing. Sometimes I don't go that direction. I come in this direction. And I think particularly in a group of people, it's good to have people that think in different ways, because you get the most interesting ideas when lots of people are thinking different ways.
So how did you write the book? So if you're dyslexic, it's obviously going to slow you down a bit. So did you just write into? I mean, which platform did you use, if you don't mind me asking?
I use them all. I'm a tart for the AI.
Okay.
On my phone, I mainly use chat. I have on my computer Claude, Grok. I basically have them all on the computer. But in answer to your question,
the genesis of it.
The genesis is I would write in Google Docs whatever it is that I would want to write. So I wrote initially a kind of outline of what I wanted to do, and then I used the AI to brainstorm kind of the outline, a structure of what it was going to be. I'd then write a chapter, and I'd put it back through one of the AIs and say, A, what's wrong with this? What are the gaps? And B, can you check my spelling and my grammar? It would then send it back to me. I would hate what it sent back to me, and I'd rewrite it, and that would be so. Effectively, it's like having an editor. Basically, use it as an editor, but put a piece of software, and then just went chapter by chapter to write it from there.
But whenever whenever anybody puts anything into an AI platform, it always comes up with, "Do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do that?" At the end. Did it keep coming back with things saying, change this, change that, and you reached a point when you went, "Oh, just sod it, it's done now"?
No, so I think that is to do with the prompting at the beginning. So when you're prompting, you have to be really explicit about what you wanted to do. I think of it as like an idiot savant. I've got this thing that you have to treat it like it's never met the world before and explain in detail what you want. But then what it outputs is normally brilliant. The clearer you are, and also the longer you stay on a thread, the more it tends to go crazy because it remembers stuff from before and then starts to go off. So I tend to start new threads for each new thing that I'm doing.
Okay, so you've used AI for music, you've used it for writing. What else are you using it for?
So So really ridiculous stuff all the time when I'm in the kitchen, and I'll open the fridge door and I look in the fridge, and there's a sad looking bit of celery and a couple of tomatoes and what have you, and I say to whatever it is you chat normally, hey, I've got these things. You've got any ideas about what I can cook? So I use it often for kind of fun little projects like that, or I was smoking some steaks this weekend, and I wasn't sure how long to smoke them for. So maybe there's types of things I would have Googled in the past, but it gives a different way of getting that information.
When you said I was smoking some steaks, it took me a moment to realise what you meant.
There were
This image of you with
like a cigar. No, they were big fat tomahawks, and I wanted to reverse sear them. So you smoke them for X period of time, and then you bring it to a high heat afterwards. But I wasn't sure how long to smoke them for, so I just asked for some advice.
And what next for Robin Stevens? And are you looking to start a new business? We'll get onto your day job in a second, but just in terms of, creatively.
Creatively. So what I think the world is these days divided into content creators and content consumers. And the danger with technology and AI and basically all these things is that there's constantly something that's going to take your attention, right? It's really easy to spend 3 hours doom scrolling TikTok or Instagram, or mindlessly watching Netflix. I mean, we all do it, and I do as much as anyone else. But those same tools allow us to also be endlessly creative and create things. And so the challenge, I think it's a challenge for all of us, is how do I use some of that time, some of that downtime, to do other creative things. And I'm constantly thinking about, well, what else could I be doing right now rather than endlessly watching the next Marvel movie or what have you, and coming up with new ideas. So I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this yet, Bob, but obviously you and I have got a little project that we're going to be maybe talking about perhaps in the future.
Yeah.
Unless you want to talk about it now.
Should we? I hate talking about my. Oh, go on then.
Well, okay. So one of the other things that I have been thinking about a lot is how the education system for our kids, and we have kids that are similar ages, how the education system doesn't really reflect the reality of the way the world has changed, right? So when we went to school, and probably our parents and grandparents and so on and so forth, is you went off, and as long as you got a fairly decent degree, you could then go enter the workforce, and you'd have a job for life. And the reality is, I think that was already disappearing. The job for life thing was already disappearing in our lifetime. But with artificial intelligence, the risk is a lot of the jobs that people once upon a time did have gone, right? One person can run a whole team to do these things. And so we have to give our children the tools to be entrepreneurial themselves, because they have the same opportunities that we have. They can use the tools to be creative and come up with their own ideas. And so the education system just doesn't set up our kids to be entrepreneurial. And so you and I, we're talking about this, I think, again, over a beer, and talking about, could we create something that allowed kids to just think about what they could do right now to be entrepreneurial? Because the earlier you start being entrepreneurial, the earlier it embeds into the way you think ever more. So I think, and having read the latest draft, I think it's going to be good, and I think we will be doing something quite significant.
So hopefully there are some publishers listening, or agents at least.
Yes, absolutely.
Why do you think being entrepreneurial isn't encouraged at schools? Is it because they don't want to encourage risk? They want you to because when you go to school and you go to get your grades and you're taught certain things, you're taught to be employable, aren't you? You're not taught to become a leader. You're not taught to create businesses.
I think that's right. And so I think education is really important, to be clear. I don't think there's anything wrong with education. I think it's really important that you learn to read and write, and maybe more importantly, how to socialise with other people. Those things are all critically important. I think the people who teach don't have any of the experience of doing the entrepreneurial things. And I actually think that hits lots of areas. I remember I studied programming for my A-levels, and the teacher was someone who couldn't hack teaching maths, so was now teaching computing, but had no experience really of programming, and certainly had no experience of writing software for for using in businesses, right? But I think that's true of any type of business. I mean, there's very few teachers who have that entrepreneurial background, and therefore, how can they impart it? And of course, it's not part of the national curriculum, so they're not getting those experts in. But I think it flows all the way up to university and beyond, right? So probably the most critical skill you can have if you're being entrepreneurial is the gift of the gab and being able to sell.
Yeah.
And actually, people don't like the idea of selling, do they? It's seen as a slightly dirty thing. Oh, you're a salesperson.
Yeah.
But persuading people and getting them to listen to your ideas. I mean, that's the critical thing in order to be successful in life, in almost anything. You know, whether you're being creative, if you're pitching an idea to someone, right the way through to trying to get a team to work with you and getting them to understand it and work with you. So it's a skill set that you can only learn by doing, I think.
Yeah, and what you said about teachers is interesting, but it's not necessarily their fault, is it? Because they're just in the coalface. They are on the front line. It's the system that's the problem. They're the ones delivering it. I suppose it's slightly different at private schools, because at some private schools you have people who have already done something at the highest level. You get businessmen or women who have taken early retirement or run a business as well as become teachers. You have sports teachers who have played netball or football or hockey at a higher level, because you don't actually have to have a qualification to teach at a private school, which I didn't know.
I didn't know that. Was interesting.
Yeah. So you have to have the PGCE qualification to teach at a state school. So obviously we're talking about only 7%, so it's not really our target demographic.
Yeah.
But I just wonder why it isn't, like, for example, the stock market. You can make a lot of money in the stock market if you're taught from a young age. But is it because of the risk associated with it? If you're having stock market lessons in year 7, 8, 9, and you decide to jack it all in and just put all your money into it, is that seen as, I don't know, bad advice?
Yeah, I suspect it has changed a little bit, because they do think. So my son came back from school the other day and was talking to me about compound interest and compound debt. And he was talking to me about, you know, he's got a savings account. It's got 3% in it. He's like, oh, well, Daddy, I'm not sure that's the best savings account. Can you help me find a better savings account? And he learned that from school. And so I mean, clearly someone has put something in the curriculum, and I'm not sure if that's a Scottish thing rather than an English, England and Wales thing. So someone is thinking about those things. But as I say, I think it's about the curriculum, and B, then the having the right skills of people to be able to teach those things.
Yeah. And in addition to all of this, you have a day job.
I do have a day job. Yeah, I've got to pay the mortgage somehow.
Cirrum, is that how you pronounce it?
Cirrum, yeah.
Tell us about Cirrum. Software, I believe.
Yeah, it's software. So a few years ago, there's a couple of people who I've previously started businesses with. We'd sat down and we started to think about the impact of things like artificial intelligence in businesses. And what we saw was that in order for any piece of software to work effectively, it's going to rely on underlying data. Right? So any large business has got a database of stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the main databases is the customer database. And within that, you'll have things like the name of the people, where they work, what they, all the things that you'd expect to have in a database. Now, we as humans are absolutely terrible at databases. We don't like adding stuff to forms. We don't like filling things in. And when we do it as quickly as possible, because it's really boring and it's riddled full of mistakes.
Yes.
Now, the challenge is, if you're then using that data, if it's riddled with mistakes, then what clients receive is going to be wrong. So immediately it was a problem even before artificial intelligence. You know, if I spell your name wrong, you're no longer Mr. Bobby Shepherd, you're Mr. Bobby Sheephard, right? You're going to be offended, right? If it's somebody you're spending a lot of money with.
Absolutely.
So there's an immediate reputational problem with it. But if you then take that to the next level, I'm running my Claude over my database, and I'll get it to make suggestions about what we should be doing and targeting and some of those things. If you've got things like the industry wrong, the sector wrong, there's a whole set of things that are wrong. If it's got it wrong, it's going to make bad decisions for you and help you make bad decisions. So really what we're thinking about is what is the software, what can we do with a piece of software that will fix those things automatically, that will allow people to make better decisions, to do better communications with the clients, and for AI to work better. That's what Cirrum is. It fixes all that underlying data.
Brilliant. And we should give a nod to somebody who works there with you, a friend of mine, friend of yours, Paul Mackesy.
Yes, hello, Paul. I don't know if you're listening. If you're not, bad boy.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm giving him a mention because I always see Isha pop up on my listening data. So I think he's my man down there.
He's your man in Asia. Well, so Paul and I have done 3 companies together, and we built them, sold them to as built them as global companies with offices around the world, and sold them. So Paul is someone who I rely on for a very different mindset from myself. He's a really smart man.
He is.
But thinks very differently from me, and that's what you want in the world. Is someone that you can trust, that you can bounce ideas off of, and then come up with new things.
So you've created and sold 3 companies. Was this your third one?
This is the third one, yeah.
This is
it's slightly more complex than that, because I've been invested and sat on boards of other companies that have exited, but the ones I've kind of started myself and done. This is the third one, yeah.
And what's the plan long term? Are you looking to just sell, create new ones, or will there come a point when you decide to jettison the business?
Well, so one can never say anything for sure. Right now, we're focused on growing this to be the best business it can be, and there may be a point where it will make sense to back it into something else. That's not on the plan at the moment. I think the longer term question that you just kind of implied is, am I going to keep creating new businesses forevermore? Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoy the buzz of coming up with an idea, spotting a problem, working out how to solve that problem, building the team to do it, and then going to deliver on that. I can't imagine I'll ever stop doing that. I'll be 100 in my wheelchair and still coming up with crazy ideas, probably. But that's part of life, isn't it? None of us need to ever stop, I don't think.
No. Does it give you sleepless nights though?
Yeah. So of course everyone has stress. Right? And I don't think stress ever goes away for anyone. I probably don't have the same level of stress that I did in the first company, when I had no money at all, and I had to pay the mortgage. And if this thing doesn't work, what am I going to do? Once you've built some capital, and that's about that pressure goes away. But then you have different pressures, because people expect you to be successful because you've always been successful. So you can't have a failure, because no one expects you to have a failure, including your own family. So it's a different type of pressure, but it's not the same pressure.
And this is the point in the podcast where I allow people to plug whatever they want. So the mic is yours. I mean, we've plugged a lot of things, haven't we?
I think.
Is there anything we haven't plugged that you'd like to talk about or shout about?
Well, I tell you what I will shout about. So I'm not going to plug anything else. It's my mother's birthday today. So I'm going to say happy birthday to my mother. And actually, when I was talking about community earlier today, I had intended to talk about her a little bit. So I'm going to do that for 1 minute, if I may.
Please do.
Just because I come from a long line of people that really believe in community and giving back, and hopefully I'll pass that on to my children. So she's always long been a community activist, and done work for the environment, and teaching English as a second language, and helping people who can't speak English access benefits. She's done all sorts of wonderful things. But actually, she comes from a long line of very strong women. So her mother, my grandmother, opened the first ever blind typing school in the world, because she spotted there was a problem that blind kids couldn't work, and if she taught them to touch type, they'd be able to work. So it's kind of, I almost feel humbled, because I'm not nearly as brilliant as they both are, but certainly inspired by them both.
Great. We can't let this podcast slide without talking about Brexit, because it's a 10-year anniversary now.
It is a 10-year anniversary.
And I don't want to get too political, but I have one question for you. If this country re-entered the EU, which Brexit benefit would you miss most?
The Brexit benefit I'd miss the most is being able to wind up someone like Nigel Farage when you all the time about everything's been so brilliant since we've exited. Yeah, I mean, on a serious note, I think the reality is that we're a very long way from ever being able to re-enter Europe, and the question is, would they even have us back? The damage has been done. I do think that there's probably an opportunity for us to maybe enter the single market and the customs union. But then there's the argument, and I think it's a fair argument, that we have to abide by the rules, but we don't have then people in Parliament, the European Parliament, to to be able to change those rules. We'll be rule takers rather than rule makers. So we've put ourselves in a difficult position, and I'm not sure that there's an obvious solution to it. And still, it's not. I understand that the sentiment has changed, and more people are in favour or regret leaving the European Union. But the country's still massively divided. There's not an easy answer to it.
No, and if this country was to go back in, we'd have to give up the pound, wouldn't we?
No,
is that not?
Well, so, it's in the articles. You have to take the pound, but then you just don't do it. And there are 2 countries in Europe that haven't done it, and probably never will. So we would just be the same.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
You just don't do it. I mean, the whole thing about Europe is there's the written rules and there's the unwritten rules. And actually, one of the things that British people are very good at is follow the rules. And maybe some of our European friends are really good at ignoring the same rules. And I think a lot of the frustration sometimes was it felt like we were following the rules and they weren't.
We had a good deal though, didn't we? Because we had the rebate as well.
Yeah. I mean, Margaret Thatcher, bless her, did a wonderful job for getting us a fantastic deal. I always think it's amusing that the ardent Brexiters all love Margaret Thatcher, but she was the one that took us into Europe. Remember that sweater she wore with the flags, and it's saying it's the biggest market in the world, and it's right on our doorstep. That hasn't changed. It's still the biggest market in the world.
But it was the EC at the time, or EEC, wasn't it? Because we actually never joined the EU. We were already in the EU.
We were part of the EEC and then into the. And so again, one of the arguments, and I think it has some merit, was that there wasn't another vote, another kind of public vote to take us into the full EU from the EEC. But I think the reality is, there was a mistake when Blair kind of so all the other countries put brakes on when the East European countries joined for how many people could come in, and we just opened it up, and people saw an instant flood, which scared them. Now, I think the economic reality, which is it was very good for the economy, and it was during the boom years, didn't matter if you were in some small town somewhere and you couldn't get a doctor's appointment because suddenly your doctor's was overrun, and you felt differently than the people who maybe in London who it's great, the economy's booming and we're doing very well. So there were mistakes made that still I don't think any politician has grappled an answer to. No,
it's a mess. The world's a mess.
The world's a mess, yeah, and it's burning today.
Not where you are.
No. That's why I moved.
Robin Stevens, thank you very much for your time.
Bobby Shepherd, thank you so much.